Hello, 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 and welcome to, I don't know, what is this? Film review? Yeah. This one. Movie review? I don't know, could be anything, couldn't it? It's Moonage, Daydream, a film by Brett Morgan. Now, Brett Morgan did that documentary montage of Heck, I believe. That was about Kurt Cobain. That was 2015. He also did another one, didn't he, about the Rolling Stones. So yeah, he's got experience in documentaries. Is this a documentary? I don't think this is a documentary. Anyway, let's rewind. I ordered this on Friday. Something told me to order it, and it arrived on Sunday from Amazon. And I watched it on Sunday, and then I realised it was actually Bowie's birthday. It was a weird bit of synchronicity. I couldn't have planned it, even if I wanted to plan it. It was just one of those things that, weird synchronicity kind of thing. I guess Bowie's birthday and departure was on my mind subconsciously. It's weird how the mind works. And I thought, well, I wanted to settle down with it. So I did on Sunday afternoon, watched it. Like I say, it's about 2 hours 15 minutes. They say it's a documentary. I don't think it is a documentary, because it's not. It doesn't feel like a documentary, because you don't know where he begins or where he ends. There's no, and David Bowie grew up here and went to this school and did this and did that. What Brett Morgan has done is he's compiled, really is like a montage. It's a montage of Bowie taken largely from his own, it is from his own words, and him responding to interviews. So structurally, it does run in a chronology, but it does loop back on itself a few times, and it plays fast and loose on some of the live material, for context, so you'll skip from an old performance to a newer performance and back again, so it can be a bit dizzying is probably a really good way of describing it. It is like being caught up in a kaleidoscopic Bowie flush of image and sound. It's just it's an amazing piece of work. But is it a documentary? No. There were some really good bits in it that I like the old school 1978 footage that I don't think I'd seen before, and that was good to see. Again, there's lots of bits in it taken from the archive. Again, Morgan had access to the entirety of Bowie's archive. Again, this is officially stamped from the Bowie estate, and he had the scary prospect of wading through, I guess it would have been thousands and thousands of feet of film and images and cuttings and whatnot, and this is what he comes up with. The problem with Bowie is he's a man who lived many lives, not just many characters, but many lives. You've got that early period where he was, in various bands and doing the Tony Newley, thing. Then his first faltering steps into rock, then into the Ziggy period and the period that we know. The movies, you've got the movie star Bowie the artist, the actual painter, the sculptor, the whatever. Bowie the traveller. There are many Bowies, and so there's always going to be something missed out. There's always going to be something skipped. You can't do it in 2 hours 15 minutes. But I'm not criticising, I'm just saying you could make several films about David Bowie and still just not cover all of it, because he did so many things, and that's what this montage it's not a documentary presents to you. And he's a fascinating character. You see him, you know. Again, it kind of starts with the Ziggy part, you know, with him breaking through with that. Again, doesn't go before Ziggy. There's no, you know, doing the first Glastonbury Festival. There's no, you know, early material. It's just straight in with Ziggy. That's the starting off point. And yeah, it is you're kind of dragged along, and there's an awful lot of music. Of course there is, because Bowie made an awful lot of music, and it's clever how they do use different mixes. They deconstruct songs and bring bits of other songs in and merge songs together, mashups. That's really clever. I like that, how that's done. And yeah, it was fascinating. And again, to hear it all in Bowie's own words, because that's what he did. Bowie is the mouthpiece in this. And it's not a documentary. It's distilling the essence of Bowie. That's what this is. This is getting you inside his head and presenting him as a person, as a creative force. And, you know, and also like the humanity of him as well. And that's a hard thing to pull off. I think you get a sense of knowing him rather than knowing about him, if that makes sense. You watch this and you feel that you know the man rather than know of the man. That's two different things I'm describing there. So in that respect, it's the most remarkable piece of filmmaking I've ever seen when it's come about an artist. You know, it doesn't, you know, because there is so much material to take this from, because there is so many interviews and concert performances, and, you know, again, he did so many different things. I don't think anyone's really got that close to getting under the skin of someone. Again, you got to remember, Bowie was somebody who played many characters. Even he sometimes didn't know which Bowie he was. And again, I don't know if that's because he was smarter than us all, and he was a very carefully cultivated person who, you know, wanted to maintain that bit of privacy, that inner person. You know, you don't want to give everything away. You want to play your cards to your chest. You want to hold on to some of the mystique. That's what makes the artist interesting and engaging. So maybe, you know, Bowie was that smart. We never really got to see everything. He only let you know what he wanted you to know. There's that. But yeah, it's a remarkable piece. I have a few criticisms of it. My main criticism is Morgan has kind of taken what I'm going to call the Adam Curtis school of documentarianism by using clips of other things, you know, other movies, stock images, stock footage, and constructing a narrative or a palette of images to work against. And again, with Bowie, you don't need to do that. You got Bowie. Bowie's the canvas. Bowie's made enough, again, of his own art, of his own material. You didn't need to do that. Or if you did do that, you could have actually employed animators or other people to create Bowie-related imagery or something, you know. I just thought that was lazy. I didn't like it. I can understand, you know, referring to the movies like The Man Who Fell to Earth and The Hunger and Just a Gigolo and Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, Absolute Beginners, etc. I can understand them, you know, using clips of stuff that Bowie's been in, but I don't understand using, you know, some of the other stuff. It seemed irrelevant, and again, it's almost become it's almost a cultural thing now. You see it on YouTube all the time when people do documentaries on YouTube. They just use a slew of stock footage to make a narrative point when you don't really need to do that. You could just talk at the camera. And again, Bowie is the star. You don't need to do that. So yeah, that was my main criticism of it. What else was there? Yeah, and at the end of it, I came away feeling quite miserable. I felt quite sad. It upset me. Which is weird, because normally when you watch these things, you learn something, or again, I didn't really learn anything about Bowie because I've seen all the documentaries, I've heard many of the interviews before. They were just presented in a different format. It was interesting to see Bowie the Traveller, because again, there was a lot of footage of him travelling the world, and travelling like Thailand and places like that, which I hadn't seen. But yeah, I kind of just, because it mourns not just a man, but a time. Again, I keep fucking going on about this, about a time of, you realise that how important music was, and how important people like Bowie. He wasn't just the only one. There are many artists out there in the 60s, 70s, 80s, into the 90s. We had a good 40-year run. If you want to go back to the 50s, let's call it 50 years. We had a good 50-year run where music was vital, and the real cultural zeitgeist. It really meant something. And watching it all here, and watching all the concert footage and him playing in front of all those adoring fans, and you realise we're never going to get those times back. So not only do I mourn loss of Bowie, because again he still had potential. Just again, that Black Star album, which he released a few days before his death, showed that he still had great potential as an artist, as a musician, and as someone with something to say. So I always mourn that, the great potential that's lost. But then also you mourn the time with which he lived, because they ain't coming back. There's never gonna be another Bowie, obviously, because he was a unique individual. And I don't think there's been another musician who straddled all the arts. The only thing he didn't do was write a book, I guess. But you never know. There might be a manuscript. I mean, he said in this, he said before that he'd written stuff, so you never know. There might be a Bowie book. But of all the musicians, I don't think there's ever been anyone so all-encompassing as an artist as Bowie. And then there's the time in which this took place, And you see those kids, you see the kids getting into the music and it being so important to them. And now it's all gone, and that's why I felt miserable. But it's a remarkable thing, a remarkable montage. If you want to get the essence of the man, this is definitely well worth checking out. It's a remarkable work. Again, Brett Morgan had a really hard job on his hands here, and I think he's done one of many versions of the story. Like I say, they could get another documentarian in, and they could make a completely different story with the footage. But with this story, wait a minute, the dog is at the window. Let's quickly go to dog cam. Let's do dog cam. See, this is why I have to work with these days. Oh God, other YouTubers don't have to deal with that. So that's the Blu-ray. Comes in a slipcase. It's pretty plain. I mean, there's no extras. There's no making of. There's no, it's just the feature itself. So you don't. If you get it on streaming, you're not missing out on anything. But yeah, definitely essential. But I don't know, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just feeling a bit maudlin because time is running out, isn't it? Time is not with us anymore. And that's that. I've been talking about Bowie, Moonage, Daydream. Thank you for watching, and I'm gonna toodle off. Ta-ta.